Good evening and welcome to Artist Talk on Art, Monday, March 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Alex Cohen, Programming Director of Artist Talk on Art. Artist Talk on Art is the world's longest running art panel forum in art history. Founded in 1974, ATOA has held and recorded over 1,200 events in audio and video featuring more than 9,000 artists and other art professionals. All HOA events are recorded, copyrighted, and then posted to our YouTube channel, Artist Talk on Art 2026. Please hold your questions or comments until the last part of our 90-minute event and remain muted until that time. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Helen and Doug. Helen Levin is an abstract artist who has worked professionally and exhibited and curated exhibits since 1963, when she earned her Master's of Fine Arts in Painting from Columbia University. Working primarily in acrylic paint on canvas and paper, her body of work includes paintings, collages, and artist books, including her invention, the Wall Book. Her work is in several museum permanent collections. Doug Shear is the president of Artist Talk on Art and was co-founder of the organization in 1974. A New York City native and child of two artist parents who were in the Artists Union, the WPA projects, and the Hans Hofmann classes, summers were spent in Provincetown. Doug is an abstract expressionist painter. He studied at the Rhode Island School of Design. His paintings and video works are in numerous collections, and he has shown extensively in the Hudson Valley since relocating to Woodstock. And now I'll hand it over to them.
So Helen, let's start with your screen sharing.
Thank you so much, Doug, and all the women who are helping. It's a great pleasure, and I'm really honored to be part of the program and to share my art, which is a long time in practice. It includes, as Alex said, paintings on paper, starting in the old days with acrylic paint. That's the old days, is the 60s, and right up through collage and artist books, wall books. And I'm going to start with recent work. For the past 20 years, I've been fascinated and inspired by contemporary architecture. And I will name a few of the architects. First, I'm doing screen share. I'm going to move the screen a little and go to my list here. And put up. This is a recent work I'm clicking on.
Helen, you have to share from Zoom first.
Where is it? Where is this Zoom share? Where is that click?
It's a green button on the bottom of the Zoom window.
Okay, they say if you click around with, you'll find that fast. I didn't see it. For some reason, it's not showing up. Ah, here it is. Wait. Here we go.
Yes.
Very good.
We see your image.
So this is a recent work inspired by architecture. And when I say that, I refer to some American greats like Frank Gehry, who really inspired me with his gestural style of work. And so this is the first one. And this is another recent work. Acrylic on canvas.
Are you able to touch the green full screen button, Helen?
Full screen. Sorry, I didn't do that. This has to be moved out of the way. Full screen. It's not coming out full screen.
It's
the green one next to
the green one in that list with red, brown, green. There are three dots.
Screen sharing. It says that.
The upper, take your mouse to the upper left-hand corner, and you want the green button only, green. The third one, no.
That's not showing up, but I'm going to hit
It should be on your screen. You have a red, a brown, and a green dot on
Well,
the
so
upper
stop
in the
share.
upper
You are,
left-hand corner.
nothing's showing up, Doug, on the green on that. Are you getting a
Okay.
small image? You're getting a small image that for this.
Would it be a version of view?
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to move along. You're not seeing any of the images. Is that it?
No, we're
We
seeing
are. We
the
are
first
seeing the
image.
images. You can continue. Click on them. We are seeing them.
Okay, I'm glad this particular one came up. It's Archimage 16, which I uh, shipped. I had it shipped at the museum expense. They were interested in my work. The museum Reinhard Ernst in Wiesbaden, Germany, very recently. They were interested in my architecture homage series, and that's what I'm talking about now. And I was very inspired by, for example, as I said, Frank Gehry. Stephen Hall is another great American, and there's Antoine Predock also did a lot of Western American sites, beautiful sculpture, beautiful sculptural architecture. And the reason why is because of the wonderful shafts of light, the wonderful diagonals, the wonderful sense of sculpture that was in contemporary architecture, that is in contemporary architecture when it's great. So I have, this is Archimage 16, and we'll move along. Here's Archimage 7, an earlier work, which was part of the Staten Island Museum exhibit I had with my son, Helen Levin. It was called Gesture in Paint and Software. My proposal sent to the late Elizabeth Egbert, who headed the Staten Island Museum, but was also a very good abstract sculptor herself. She appreciated abstract work, and she allowed for the show, which consisted of my son's gestural work back in 2010. He interactive pieces of what's basically called in new media generative art. It's not a loop in generative art. It is a continuum of ever-changing imagery. And he and I exhibited together in 2010 in that show, Gesture and Paint and Software. And this was a piece that I did inspired by a local architect's interior space. That intrigues me as well. And it was a children's play school with some marvelous colors. So that was acquired at the request of the museum head, Elizabeth Egbert.
What's the approximate scale, the size of these
Oh,
pieces?
we're talking, my larger works are 42, 44 by 44 when they're square, and others, say even as high as say 58, 48 by 58, another piece that I'm very much proud
Thank
to.
you.
Uh-huh. And this is a small work. Now I'm going to move along. I like the idea of the images on the base of the picture, at the bottom of the picture. So now I want to get to another image, but the slideshow is disappeared on my screen. So I'm going to click off. Oh, we need Maruna to give us a hand. Maruna, is she here?
Yes.
So do tell us what's indicated here, Marina, if you will. Getting more images up there. What I had in mind to show.
Helen, I can give you a suggestion. This is Babs Reingold. Take your mouse, click at the top of the image where it's white up there, and see if you can click and hold down and drag up at the top where it's white. There you go, right in there. No, not above it, right in there. Okay. Now take that and move it up. Just move it to the side or move it around so that you can see the other images that are down below. Because now you've made it bigger.
Uh-huh.
you may also be able to click your arrow buttons, and it'll just keep going through your arrow buttons on your keyboard.
What I
You,
hope for, but I don't see them down. They're not on my keyboard right now because it's covered up now by the
your keyboard, your
You don't
physical
have a
keyboard.
physical
oh
keyboard below?
yeah, yeah,
Your
okay.
physical keyboard, you should be able to use your arrow keys and you can scroll that way.
Right, not on the screen, on the keyboard.
No, it's not working for that.
Okay, so see if you can move that over. If you've got those close buttons, Doug, doesn't it work where you also click to one side and it should move from picture to picture just by clicking on the image right or left in
You
the
could
middle of
try
the
that,
image?
see if it does anything.
And
I'm
then,
not a Mac person, so you're asking the wrong
Let me
person.
close that. Let me close that image. Appreciate that. And
all
we'll go.
right,
I'm going to go to my listing and bring up another share of another image.
closing the image is at the upper on that image on the
Yeah.
white bar. There you go, close. Okay,
Now here
now,
goes additional work. Here it's all listed. I'm opening it up.
okay.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. It just came.
Okay,
Thanks. Here we have 8, Archimage 8. Now it probably isn't that is here it is big. We'll move it over a little. Gestural abstraction. And my work has in more recent years it's more tonal and the color, I love color. And one of the things I made a transition between oil and acrylic with great attention to the wonderful viscosity of oil. And I was able to do it through scumbling and drawing in and other techniques because I wanted really to replicate that marvelous paint surface that we get with oil paint.
this has a pastel-like quality to it. Is that intentional, and how do you achieve that?
Good question. No, it's probably it has, I think partly it has a kind of a light reflection that it's in that got embedded into it and
Okay.
not intentional, I have to admit, Doug. So we're going to go to another picture. I'm clicking off it. Here comes others you haven't seen. Now it works on paper in acrylic. This is and this is inspired by rooftops. Speaking of that, architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get a few more and then I'll go into my collage. Here's another work on paper. I had in a recent exhibit at Wagner College. It was called Architecture and Advocacy. I mentioned some of my experience as a teacher. I taught art and literacy, and I developed the programs in one which I called accelerated drawing, because I was able to help people learn to draw with in great rapidity. And the other thing is the application of drawing techniques and learning to draw for literacy, for people who are struggling. Many adults who cannot read have some of the adults that I worked with told me that they never drew as children. And when I gave them experiences drawing, and my technique I called whole arm drawing because it taps actually unconscious knowledge people have. And so people gave me a very positive result, I have to say. The response was terrific. They improved reading through experiencing gestural drawing. So that was my career, how I made a living, aside from my art, which I continued and did some writing, some art reviews, and over the years.
In the
And
background of this painting, there are some very faint lines that, long ones. Are those undermarks that you placed first before you started to to do more gestural marks?
Wonderful question. No, they are actually integral part of drawing. And
Okay.
I'd like to mention something you discussed or you asked me about in terms of my training. As a student at Hunter College, Hunter had its wonderful help. It gave me a great beginning. But later on, of all times, when I really felt I learned something, because I felt Columbia University really only helped me work. It gave me a space and gave me an opportunity to really develop my uh, style, basically. I call abstraction and understanding. But to answer the question of the lines, that really relates to my whole development of drawings and painting in architecture. Because of the lines that you see here, that really came from my understandings after Columbia University from friends who attended in the 60s the new school called the New York Studio School, where my very professors at Columbia, Nick Carone and John Helliker, were teaching, and also Charles Kajorian, excellent teachers. I, through my friend, got an understanding of the old traditional, I say old, but it's the traditional Hans Hofmann understandings of drawing that came through at that particular time at the New York Studio School in the 60s, when the professors who were really teaching how to draw. And I was delighted to learn about the techniques and the approaches, which came straight, as I understand, from Hans Hofmann, who in turn learned a lot from his days in Paris with Cezanne. So I consider the tradition of developing pictorial space, drawing, and I'm really glad you asked me that question, because I really explore and have explored that whole idea of the dynamics of pictorial space, which I understand. Did I answer you in the way that you comprehend my concept?
I'm pretty happy with the answer. I would say that this particular painting looks like what would happen if Hans Hofmann happened to wander into an architecture class during sketch period.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Now I want to move on to my collage. And I became fascinated by cutting up papers and assembling them, and the accessibility of moving colorful papers around. And these are all, and I say similar in a sense, in concept with Matisse, the idea of cutting up your own papers and assembling them into a design. And I incorporated this, I want to enlarge this if I can.
It's pretty large.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is a large work itself, basically. And this is called Athena, because incidentally, I was reading the Odyssey and learning about the wonderful wisdom that came from Athena, the goddess. So it kind of stuck in my mind as a theme because of feminism. And I was part of Women in the Arts and still am active in the, I was active. I wrote articles and I learned so much from other women and had wonderful opportunities to exhibit and curate. I did 2 shows of women artists, one of which was devoted to abstract women artists for Chubb Insurance, which has a gallery in New Jersey. And the other show I did with women in the arts. I acquired the opportunity for us for Nabisco Brands in 1989. Let me show work.
I think you make very good use in this particular piece of the very Hoffman-like cool versus warm colors, how they're interacting with each other. The
Thank you.
blues versus the yellows, the hot pink and so forth.
Thank you. I also see it as a sort of a central image there, but I also want to mention, I hope it's visible, that I use stamping and some printmaking techniques.
Uh-huh.
I want to mention in before this hour just is gone, that my I had wonderful teachers at Hunter College, such as Ray Parker,
Oh, really? Hmm.
who introduced us to the whole idea of with painting to make a little viewer out of paper, so we could really create the pictorial space of the rectangle when
Right.
we were preparing a drawing. And he'd set up a whole pile of junk in the all sorts of odd objects in the middle of the class. And we were told, we at 18 years old, go ahead, you're painting, here's your easel, go ahead. And that was inspiring. And Baziotis, a very interesting professor, American born in Pennsylvania, um, wonderful artist, you can see in the museums, um, of Greek descent, American born, as I say, and um, he encouraged me and all his students to, in quotes, find something you love. So when we sought subject matters, we we had an approach we could use, and I at that time loved um, biomorphic shapes,
Mhm.
and I loved Arp's work, and I even made a sculpture as a student, which I still have, of a wall piece of wooden shapes. And that's also part of my background at Hunter. And the other great influence was William Rubin,
Hmm.
who was the head of MoMA's a curator. Let me show more work, and then I'll continue. Uh,
Okay.
so Marona, can you show any whole group of images from the collage and artist book section, if you will? Maroon is helping us.
Okay.
Oh, here, this is another work of, I call the Athena series of papers painted. Keep going, Maruna, if you will.
So these are papers that you pre-painted and then assembled in the collage.
Yes, all my work is done with archival cotton paper and archival glues. I really
Hmm.
respect I learned when I did artist books, how so many of and this is a tiny book. I also made large oversized books, and even using materials like corrugated plastics.
Hmm.
Sometimes I found in the trash old discarded posters. So this is a small book. It's in the Brower Museum in Valparaiso, Indiana.
Hmm.
Small book, and it is a flag book. This concept I learned at the Center for Book Arts from a famous um, book artist named um, Hetty Kyle, a German
Hmm.
artist. She did wonderful, but she used only text in her books, and I decided my abstract paintings would go in there just as well. And I wanted to make wall books because I said, "Oh, I'd love to be able to just mount these on the wall." And so I went ahead and I have a whole bunch of them. I Please continue, Marina, showing
You
the.
know, these rectangles that you have in that previous piece,
Yes.
uh, that piece reminds me a little bit. Thank you for backing that up. It reminds me of the wall screens created by a designer by the name of Eileen Gray in
Oh,
I'm going to say the 1950s and 60s.
really?
And usually they'd be monochromatic, like all black or black and gray or white and black, using these rectangles the way you've used it here. So, uh,
Really? In other words, she did what's called the flag book with the accordion fold, is what's
no, they weren't books, but there were sort of accordion folds,
I
but
see.
they were where you could move the sections the way you're doing with these rectangles. And they were very exciting for what they were, which was room dividers,
Uh-huh.
not books.
Yeah, yeah. And so I have a whole bunch of these, and I varied the shapes of those. This is another collage incorporating a little bit of canvas,
Hmm.
white canvas on the corner.
Right.
Please keep going quickly now, a little quicker, if you will. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
want to
this is
share with you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful piece.
This is, I have to say, Doug, sadly, it's lost. Uh,
Uh,
I uh, there's a whole story. I'm shy about saying what happened almost because a curator, I think the curator uh, tossed it or what. I was really I
yeah.
submitted it to a curator who, well, you'll get in the mail your receipt, but it didn't happen, and the piece can't be found. But MoMA has one of my artist books, a a multiple in 1979. My first artist book was called Brainstorms. My autobiography and poems and drawings has Xerox copies. It
Hmm.
was printed, offset printer did it, and MoMA has it in its collection. It was
Right.
purchased by Clive Philpott in 1979. But
Right.
um, but anyway, this was a lost piece, and I do. I have a second one though called.
Ooh, I love this.
Oh, thank you. This is also, as you can see, the accordion fold, if you can, in the middle, and
Hmm.
um, the shaped pages, if you will. Acrylic on canvas, on paper, I'm sorry, cotton
Hmm.
paper, sure. That's definitely a wall book. This was an earlier wall book.
So what's the scale of the wall books? I mean, how big are they?
Yeah. Think 24 width when they're open flat and about 18 high. This is about,
Feet or
oh
inches?
no, these are inches. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
mean, it would definitely work in feet.
I thought about that, uh, but I didn't go, and develop anything on large scale like that.
Hmm.
Please keep going,
I mean,
Maroon.
this could easily be a maquette for a much larger deployment.
This is another of my works for um, using the flag book approach. Uh,
Hmm.
and I also incorporated, if you look on the left side, collage and stamp. I have a stamped shape in there, and there's a stamp shape very small on the right side. Stamp shapes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, now this one I use the idea of a flag book with it on a vertical set instead
Hmm.
of horizontal. And
Right.
so I have little pages on that too. And I have that mounted in my home under plexiglass. It's
Uh-huh.
about 3 inch plexi box over it.
Right.
I had done on Canal Street, made those for me. Yeah. And this is another it's one of my favorite collage, trying to think of the
This one is
title.
very effective, I think.
Thank you. I have some um, stamping done there. It's pretty obvious.
It looks like fingerprints in the middle.
Oh, it's interesting. I made my own little stamp in that
Uh-huh.
case.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What kind of paper stock did you use?
Oh, 100% cotton paper. But
Mhm.
I did make exceptions. For example, this piece um, is a print from a color Xerox, which is
Mhm.
a lower grade paper.
But then folded, yes, folded.
Oh, yes, that's a folded the
Okay.
another accordion fold book. Yeah,
Hmm.
and these are all one of a kind artist books.
Right.
We still haven't come to one of my favorites though. Keep going on that. Oh, this one. Yeah, what happened? Yeah. Um, this is also vertical at its slight angle. I have that in my home under a, plexiglass framing because it's three-dimensional. It's relief. Uh, Needs that 3 inches space. Let me know when it's a good time for me, Doug, to discuss my background. And we
Well, we're gonna get into that after the images. We'll be talking
oh,
about
sure.
that.
Oh, good. Have we seen everything or um
Yes. Yes, we went through all 16.
yeah. We
Oh,
haven't
okay.
seen I haven't shown my earlier paintings and I haven't shown all the paintings, but we can add that on toward the end if we have time. I'll
Let's talk for a while. I think
yeah.
people who want to see your earlier work can go to your Instagram, correct?
Oh, my website,
Or your website.
helenlevin.com. Yes.
Hmm.
Um,
So could I ask you a few questions? Would you
oh, please.
be
I'm thrilled.
amenable?
I would delighted.
Okay. I'm interested that you don't refer to yourself as an abstract expressionist, which is interesting because you are. I would say you're and I say this because I am a gestural abstract expressionist, being that there are two forms of abstract expressionism generally, one being color field and the other being
Yeah,
gestural.
yeah,
So you're of the gestural type.
definitely,
Um,
definitely. Yes.
some of your teachers at Columbia and or at Hunter were probably ex-Hoffman. I know that Stephen Green was ex-Hoffman. He'd been a Hoffman student. Uh, Bazioides was not, but he was a contemporary of Hoffman. He's a little older than Green, I believe. But at least
Oh,
he was in the circle of Hoffman, but he wasn't a student of Hoffman.
oh, sure. He was part of that group, the club, whatever.
But you mentioned also that excuse me, you had been at the studio school.
No, the interesting thing, I was deeply interested in because my very close friend who went to Columbia, I'll mention her name, maybe some people know, Lucinda, the late uh, dear friend, no longer with us, Lucinda Pearsall Feldman.
Okay.
Cindy went to Columbia. I always admired the way she handled paint. She was
Hmm.
100% scholarship student too, a brilliant girl. And Cindy, after getting her MFA, like me, she was 1 year ahead. She went to the studio school. And I said, why on earth are you going to school now? She said,
Hmm.
well, all our professors from Columbia, they're
Are
part
there?
of that new school that they
Hmm.
started. And I said, really, what are they doing that you're so excited about? And she said, oh, the drawing courses are producing incredible work. And I said,
Hmm.
really? I said, Jesus, they never taught us anything. You know,
Right.
what's that look like? And she said, oh yes, and those are our professors. And they used to come into our studios and encourage us along. Well, Nick Carone, I didn't, he just commented in a little, and or John Helliker would come in, and they were glad we were finding ourselves there. But when it came to drawing instruction, um, well, I had one course at Columbia with Stephen Green, who encouraged a kind of vigorous bravado in work, away from
Uh-huh.
what I was coming to Columbia with, and
Meaning more gestural than you had been?
well, no, it wasn't the gestural. He picked up that I was not working as expressively as I should,
Okay.
and I wanted to even. So,
Hmm.
um,
So let's move on to something else. When you were starting out in the 60s, it was still a pretty difficult time for women. You can argue that it's still difficult in many ways, but did you consider yourself to be part of the wave of feminist artists that rose in the 60s and 70s? I see that you were associated with Ceres and 55 Mercer.
oh, sure. Well,
So talk about that if you would a little bit.
the way I just felt a tremendous need to connect to other artists. I was isolated. I had married and moved to a relatively a remote portion of Staten Island in the South Shore. And
Mhm.
the monthly meetings meant a whole lot to me to meet other women artists. I made friends, which I still enjoy. And
Is that in series or no?
well, no, that came later. I actually joined a Brooklyn co-op in around the 1970 in 79, 80. I had an exhibit called Quirk, which I got a
Uh-huh.
grant from Artist Space, a small grant, and I include Shari Deans in my show.
Oh,
That
really? Okay.
Yeah, it was a show about artists who were doing things slightly beyond their normal painting, and that's a whole other thing. But that was the first co-op not in the 1980. I had my allocated a solo show for me, but instead I decided to have a group show with my space. It
Hmm.
was my time to have a show, and
Right.
so that secondly. I was invited by a former member of Women in the Arts, the late Nelica Nix, who was Nelica was a member of AIR, and I was in a couple
Hmm.
of shows she invited me in, and then I joined Ceres and participated there and had a show of some of my collages back in the late 90s.
Hmm.
And after that, um, I didn't continue, but Women in the Arts as a group was a really viable opportunity to
Right.
curate and participate in shows
Right.
and to share. I learned so much from the other women artists.
And that still exists, doesn't it? Women in the
Of
Arts?
course.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we have some people here tonight who are from Women
Hmm.
in the Arts.
Right.
The One way participated was I began writing articles for them. And um, what got me interested in Florida, where I am as we speak right now, is some years ago I went 3 times actually to attend the Miami Basel
Hmm.
exhibits in the earlier on, and wrote some reviews for our little newsletter and stuff. And
Hmm.
I also wrote some articles about artists for Women Artists News,
Oh, yeah.
and also New York Arts, which was
Hmm.
run by a gentleman. I don't know if that continues. I haven't looked into it. And I published articles, 4 or 5
Was that
articles.
Abe Lebelsky, New York Arts, or no?
Yes, yes, yes. That
Yeah.
name is very familiar.
Right.
And the Staten Island Advance took at least 4 or 5 of my articles on. For example, I wrote about the Noguchi Garden Museum in
Uh-huh.
1980 when that first opened. So
So
I
you
do
also you
freelance.
also participated in some international
Yeah.
exhibitions and also programs like the State Department programs. What period of time were you doing that?
Well, just recently, in the last, I'd say approximately 5 years ago, just before the pandemic, the
Hmm.
uh, I had applied, and they came to my home and took 2 works. Interestingly enough, while I consider my more exciting work, um, sometimes I have also on my website, I should mention, I call vintage work. During the 80s and 1980s, I did paintings that were sort of hard-edged abstractions or what you call semi-abstractions. And those works were inspired by my own. I made collages first, and then I made them into paintings. Now, the paintings selected by the art embassies were oddly stuff I did back then, even though they did their selection here in around 2000 and 2020. So that's true. Now, art in Europe, how did that happen? I literally feel I was somebody has some noise going on. I don't know what it is, but it happens. But uh, three things happened. I have to share with you three things happened. I have to share with you three.
Okay, someone out there needs to mute their sound.
Is it me? No.
No.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I was friendly. A man walked into my exhibit. By the way, I exhibited several times with the late, wonderful Hetty O'Beal, another gestural abstraction, Doug. Did
I
you know?
remember her, yes.
Well, we got along very well, and we exhibited work together. And one day when I had work on the wall, a gentleman from Holland came in. He turned out to be an art collector, and he was starting a foundation specifically in Holland for abstract art. I said,
Really?
that sounds
Okay.
cool. I'll write about it. I want to write and learn about who's in your collection. He was worked as in a large corporation before he retired, and had a lot of art. And he was very devoted historian to abstract art, even though he came from a business world. He and his family, they were interested in art. So I went and stayed in Holland with him and his partner, lady, and they put me up there, and I wrote an article about him. And now I got this show, a little show in Wildegem, Netherlands. I walked out one day and I saw a gallery nearby, and I said to a woman,
Will whoever is having private conversations, please mute yourself.
Risa. I'll give you two.
Thank you, whoever did that.
I was
Switching a little bit from the world tour. How do you begin a painting?
Well, I'm inspired by a photograph. My architectural homage come primarily from a photograph, and then I improvise. The word improvisation means a lot to me because my earlier work, I say earlier, just before I became interested in architecture, where there's a lot of improvisation from a photograph or nature, looking at a garden or something.
Right. So, I mean, when you're approaching a canvas and you have certain architectural ideas in mind, do you start by making marks on the canvas, or do you bring color in first, or sweeping gestures and then start making marks? What's your order of battle, so to speak?
You have to really, in my case, I believe you set up some colors and you start working, and from an image. I cannot work in a vacuum. I need some kind of a resource. Either it could be anything, that I think that first painting I showed here that I did in Florida, and that's Florida work. That one is from just a magazine showing furniture organized in a certain room, and I thought, oh, that's so nice. Just what an interesting inspiration, the interior architecture in that room. So just go ahead and paint. And we're talking about Hans Hofmann as an inspiration in terms of the way he drew. And the framed study means so much because, as Basiotis used to say, when he came into my studio when I worked, I remember he came over and I said, well, I just wanted to hear what you have to say. So he
Right.
walked over and he looked
Wait
right
a
up.
minute, back up the truck, back up the truck. You were in the presence of Hoffman at one point?
No, no, I'm talking about Basiotis. Didn't I
Oh,
say?
Basiotis.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, I got you
All right.
mixed up. So
Well, that's
Basiotis,
almost like being in the presence of Hoffman,
right? So
almost.
he Basiotis walked over. He was my mentor at Hunter. He looked at the painting and he went over to the corner and he looked at it and he said, every little bit of space, every part of space matters here when you're
Mm.
painting. So you're starting to work with large gestures on the, but you're very much aware of the edges of your work. That's
Uh-huh.
Hoffman. That's 100%. And
Yeah,
Cezanne also. So
right.
back to if I just want to just elaborate a tiny bit
Sure.
on work. Okay. I'm on someone's website, ETAOIN, a guy who was very adept at computers, is now about 80, 86, 87. And
Okay.
he started a website for Staten Island artists
Uh-huh.
back in the 90s. And I was on, and I still am, I may very well be. And he said, someone contacted me about your work. I said, yeah. And so who was that? He said, well, he got my permission to let that woman contact me. It turns
Right.
out the woman wrote a book called Jewish Artists from Around the World. She did a series. She had been given a grant by the government in Germany, and
That must have been a very big book.
well, no, she had 4 books,
Okay.
and she made 4 books, and she uh, created an exhibit in Berlin at the Insel Gallery, INSCL, a feminist gallery. And she invited us to come over there, and we were helped by finding cheap motels. And I said, well, why not go? This is about 15 years ago.
Hmm.
And so it was great to have a little show there. And that was my Berlin experience.
Uh-huh.
And she gave us money to exhibit, like 150 euros. She gave each artist in that group show.
Hmm.
So it was like a thank you note, for us. And then the show in France, I happen to speak French as a hobby of mine. I learned at Hunter College to speak French. And so I got
I just saw another video of you on YouTube, two videos where you were playing a guitar and singing in French. And I thought that's very charming. You obviously must have some ability in French.
I, well, actually, thank you so much. But speaking of videos, there are two, for everyone's sake, there's two fun short videos of me called The Storyteller's Lounge, part
Uh-huh.
one and part two, part about my art career, and the second is about my published writings in art advocacy.
Uh-huh.
I advocate, to put it in one sentence, I advocate for drawing as a foundation skill. I wrote a piece for the National
Hmm.
Art Education Association called Beyond Art, Drawing as a Foundation Skill.
Right.
Basically, what I'm
You mean for language, I guess, right?
that too, but primarily though, we're talking from an educational
Hmm.
circles. The idea of enhancing right brain, skill,
Hmm.
right brain spatial intelligence,
Right.
awareness. So that was something I was experiencing in adult education where I
Hmm.
worked primarily, and and I
If I may take us into another spot, um, you obviously have had a lot of experience with artist books going pretty far back, right? To the 60s even,
going what?
into the 1960s originally, or at
No,
least the 70s.
wait a minute. I went to Hunter and began being, an art major in 1958 and
Oh,
through.
I see. Okay. All right. I got my years a little screwed up.
Okay.
But you were fairly early on in artist books. Was that part of the Franklin Furnace collection ultimately that went to MoMA?
Um, I think that I had a feeling that Martha Wilson she was interested in multiples, if I'm not. No, I don't think an interest in what I was. Oh, I know what was important that I can point out
Yeah.
for us, and that is in 2002, I applied on Staten Island at the Snug Harbor Cultural Center Newhouse
Hmm.
Gallery
Hmm.
for the curator to do an artist book show because that was uh, in the 90s. I was doing artist books,
Oh,
but my
okay.
first
Okay.
book was 79. That was not the sculptural books that you like,
Uh-huh.
art painted sculptural books. That was a different type of book, the first one.
Right. Right.
So that was accepted by the curator for, and I called it Orion and more, the Japanese word for folded book. And
Uh-huh.
because I knew and participated in with some Brooklyn artists in a show, they connected me with 37 about no 32 wonderful book artists. So the show I did um, in um, in 2002 at Snug Harbor, or I had more. I had 37 artists, but 57 works of art. We had
Wow.
in
Hmm.
cases, and we had um, um, Deidre Lawrence, who was a curator of the Brooklyn Museum of Art, was interested and she liked my book, another book I had done, which is not on my website, by the way,
Hmm.
a translation of a French song called L'étang chimérique, which means the imaginary pond. And she has a copy in her a book art collection, The Imaginary Pond. And oh God, I think I got off the topic of your question. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. It's all right. It's free form. Uh,
Yeah,
Tell us
back.
a little bit about your studio in St. George on Staten Island.
Yeah. I'm sorry the pictures didn't come through. I had well, it wasn't much
No,
of it.
that's okay. It's just,
I had I
what's
had
it
one.
like? Is it like a loft? What kind of
Yes,
structure?
yes. What I have and bought, I had a house in the South Shore I mentioned and got sold, and we split my ex-husband and I, and I purchased a co-op where I lived in 2010 at
Hmm.
what's called Bay Street Landing, which is um, some of the building. My particular building, and I fell in love with this apartment, was is a former warehouse built in the
Hmm.
19th century or early 20th century. Um, well, maybe I can't give you.
Do you have a view of the skyline or anything like that?
No,
Or
I don't have a beautiful view, but what I have is 16-foot ceilings, a great
oh,
sense of space, and the bedroom is the transformed into the studio and have
uh-huh.
nice, decent lighting and the skylights over the kitchen instead of the studio area. The
Hmm.
bedroom, as I say, is the studio, and I had one picture of that. So a great place, and uh, you mentioned something else you wanted to know about that. I moved, as I say, in 2010, and that was the year before my exhibit. My son and I exhibited at the Staten Island Museum. I mentioned that before,
Hmm.
and that's within walking distance of the ferry,
Hmm.
um, and but a question that you also had on your list, Doug, if I
Right.
you mentioned about my son, Golan Levin. We
Yeah,
were,
I'm just curious if you ever exhibit together or do things
yeah.
together.
Well, we don't as a rule anymore, but we keep in touch, and he maintains my website for me. That it doesn't, I have the
Hmm.
domain name, and I have the what do you call the other thing you have to have.
Instagram or no?
No, no, I uh, he's
Oh, the domain name. Well, and then host of the site.
yeah, well, he helps me with maintain, yeah, hosting and the domain name. He has two kids, one of whom, by the way, goes to your school, RISD.
Oh,
Rhode
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. His name is Zen Levin, his son. Um,
Hmm.
my son, I want to mention about his childhood and his becoming an artist. Are you all interested in that? I hope I'm not boring you.
I'm more interested in learning what made you become an artist in your childhood.
Ah, yes. Well, as a kid, I drew constantly. Maybe it's because that's a very cheap way to keep kids busy. Give them a piece of paper and draw. But I really got hooked on drawing in
Hmm.
my childhood, and moved up with and dancing, ballet dancing. I
Hmm.
thought, I had a scholarship to the School of American Ballet when I was about 10 or 11.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and I took dancing very seriously. But at 12, I said, "Oh, this is too much work for me."
Hmm.
But I go back to my drawing. That's why I'll be an artist. And so
Uh-huh.
I made up my mind, chucking dancing. However, I've always maintained a love of dance, not ballet, but now I admire and really love uh, creative modern dance
Hmm.
movement. And I
Was
still,
there anyone in your family that inspired you or encouraged you artistically?
yes, my mother was a very encouraging for the arts in general. She had, during her youth, wanted to be a singer. She played the piano. We sang together in the living room. That was entertainment. We enjoyed, and then the dance. And my sister kept it up. My sister
Hmm.
passed some while ago. She was a hobby pianist, and I enjoyed dancing. And my mother had a group of women that met every week and took picture postcards and like scenery or a
Hmm.
calendar or greeting cards. Sort of hobby painting women group of
Uh-huh.
hobbyists, and that's what I had, in my background.
And
And
where was your childhood spent?
Yonkers, New York.
Okay.
And there were paintings on the wall that she and her sister, another amateur painter,
Hmm.
um, and that's what I grew up around. Plus, she was very good at sewing and doing crafts, which she taught
Hmm.
me. So I had a childhood of of crocheting and repairing clothes of my own.
Hmm.
Learning how to do basic household sewing for myself. And
Right.
so I learned, the homey arts as a kid. But the
Mhm.
being a painter and an artist was something I was also encouraged by my high school teacher,
Uh-huh.
who uh,
And where was high school? Was that also in Yonkers or?
yes, Seymour Kaplan, NYU graduate in
Hmm.
those days, uh, and um, showed us slides of abstract art. And,
Oh,
and
okay.
he helped me obtain a scholarship, my first real in-depth drawing experience, which was at the new a school in Manhattan, a summer scholarship at the Phoenix School of Design, and there was a
Uh-huh.
marvelous drawing teacher there, and
Hmm.
she made what I call and continued to use as a teacher myself
Hmm.
perceptual corrections
Hmm.
in drawing from nature or drawing the figure.
Right.
We had models, and I was 17 years old, and I was so
Uh-huh.
impressed with that experience, and that got me. And then I went to Hunter College.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
think it would be interesting to allow people in to ask questions or make comments.
sure. I'm not showing a little more of my paintings, but please do look at helenlevin.com and please go ahead. Questions.
So let's see if someone would like to address a question or has a comment. If you do, just unmute yourself and start talking.
She mentioned, I think you mentioned Hans Hoffman, and I don't think she completed the comment. Did she ever take a class from him, or what was your
Who was
relationship with Hans
She didn't
Hoffman?
she didn't study directly with Hoffman, but she did study with a number of people who had studied with Hoffman,
What did she pick up
disciples of
from that?
Hoffman.
Did she pick up anything from Hans Hoffman?
who's asking? I don't, who was asking that question? I'm just curious.
Audrey.
Oh, Audrey, where are you?
I'm here. I don't
She's
have my
hiding.
video on, but I've been reading up on Hans Hofmann, and I
Mhm.
went through his Renate series, you know, the 50s. I wanted to see what you had picked up from the people who studied under him.
Well, after I picked up the ideas of basically I saw how intense Charles Kondorian's classes were from Cindy. I began all my, during the rest of my, that was in the 60s. So I learned that. I've since studied enough books, about Hoffman and read and learned different from articles about. So is that answering your question? I didn't go into the color um, theories because I felt that Hoffman's great contribution was as a teacher for basically drawing, as he did in probably where Doug's parents went to school, or also went to workshops, I should
On
say.
on 8th Street and in Provincetown.
Oh, Provincetown is because I
Both.
know.
Yeah.
I knew about that. It was really through my deep curiosity and learning that Hoffman, I don't know if this is well known, he was already a mature art teacher in Munich before
Mhm.
he went to Paris.
Correct.
And I don't know if he met directly with Cézanne. Don't forget, in 1900, Cézanne was already about 40 years old. He wasn't a young artist then, and he may have left Paris, but he was interested very much, we're talking Hoffman, in the theories and the writings about drawing and about art
Mhm.
that Cézanne put forth and people knew in Paris about and developed, for example, into the cubism of I see Picasso at that time.
Well, he knew Picasso and he knew Matisse and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah,
He had
yeah. By
many
the
of these
way,
relationships.
I want to mention and say two things philosophically about abstract art.
Okay.
I believe that abstract art is not a style; it's an understanding. Now, that's an interesting, I hope, way to look at it because um, uh, what does it be an understanding of is the fact that, and I derived this from studying history in my undergraduate and graduate time, is that all the great art that we love and admire is not the subject matter, but it is the abstract qualities in it. It's the line, the shapes, the colors, the textures, the composition. That's um, what is admired in art. And the subject matter is almost, I would say, incidental. It carries emotional context for sure.
I would jump off on that and I would say differently. I would say abstract expressionism is a movement. And in some senses, it's a school. But for a school, it has many classrooms.
Yes,
So it has within it a tremendous diversity of styles.
yeah, it's a platform at this point for artists to develop. Now, I will mention my son who became an artist. I think he was very Golan Levin. You can look him. He's very involved he teaches at Carnegie Mellon
Uh-huh.
University, New Media, and kind of in some ways regarded slightly as a pioneer for interactive new media because
Uh-huh.
stuff he did early on involved a kind of a non-loop. A lot of stuff you'll see in exhibits today. The loop is a continuity, beginning and end of a sequence of things. But
Hmm.
when it's what's called generative art, it's based on chaos theory, and it never ends. It keeps going into a new aberration or a new version of itself. So that's what's interesting. And Golan got his ideas about, he got interested in art as a kid. I raised him. I don't know how many people may have had this experience. My ex and I, we split when Golan was 11. So I was something of a single parent for a 11-year-old boy. And I provided enrichment in terms of he took computer classes locally in Staten Island with a man who had studied at MIT in the 60s and knew about those giant computers. So my son got intrigued. But when he went to MIT himself, he joined as an undergraduate into programs of visual studies. MIT doesn't have art classes, undergraduate or anything. Everything is digital or computer based. So, but the other thing he had was he went with me when I taught a gig. I don't know if you all remember the Art Park up in Lewiston, New York, is a venue for artists to present projects. And I did something for the family workshops, a sculptural thing. And so he had an opportunity to be in a very enriched environment there. And then I discovered through my teaching contacts about a camp, which was called a creative work camp, where he went, and they don't allow kids to just go off and do anything. Each kid had to have a plan for themselves, a tight program of creative work, whether it be glass blowing, weaving, painting. He chose painting. So that was the platform of his childhood that got him involved in art, and continues today with projects and stuff.
Let's go back now, if we can, to see if there are other questions or comments from our audience.
There's what happened to Erin Butler, my friend, and Linda Booty, my friend, and some women in the arts. And is Helene Solar still there? Yeah. Well, I see a picture of Helene.
Well, we know Helene. She's appeared with us.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
I was one of your book artists at the Staten Island show.
Oh, what's your name?
Lothorial.
Oh, yes, I remember your name.
Yes. I and Stephanie Brody Letterman.
How are they all doing?
It's another artist we know.
Great.
Yeah. Book arts. Is it called Brooklyn? Is it called the Brooklyn Group now, or you have a group like that?
Well, I don't think that's going anymore. I don't think. I moved west of Chicago.
Oh,
from New York.
Interesting.
But I still go back all the time. And right now I have a show at All Street Gallery on East 3rd Street in the Lower East Side.
Wow. That's terrific.
Maybe thanks to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a a very good show. And I got a call. I remember I put my boyfriend, my late friend who passed 5 years ago, Ed Davin, and he got a call from some collector in South Africa he did a film connected to a book he wrote. And I also got a call from Florida from Jaffe, a book artist, a collector. Arthur Jaffe was a book art. Do you know about Arthur Jaffe?
Yes.
Oh, the Jaffe collection. And he asked me, would I connect him with, let's see, Hetty Kyle. And so she, it was nice. It was a nice exposure, that artist book show. Well, anyway, I'm glad to see that you're doing well. That's good news. Thank you for making a contribution.
Any other comments or questions from the audience?
Judith.
Just unmute yourself and speak.
And Toby, you're welcome to.
Yes.
We really appreciate your skills with women in the arts. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I do have a question for you. Which technique do you find you're the most spontaneous? Is it when you're painting or doing the collages or your books?
Drawing. Drawing gives you the most freedom because okay. Let me talk. Painting small paintings where I incorporate improvisations where I incorporate um, things like rollers or stamping. That's what I feel really at this point because I'm not willing to work with large paintings anymore, and I like the idea of small. Sometimes you can make a real gem, Toby, with a small canvas, and it's significant. And so I have some small paintings in canvas. We couldn't get um, all on my. Maybe we could go back and if we have time and see. Doug, you think you can do
Let's not go back. Let's go
oh,
forward.
forward? Okay.
Yeah.
So my website, if we could put that on, we might be able to see some other
Right. Well, it's on all the promotional material that went out, so it's easy to find your website.
well, I want to mention to you work of the 80s and
Hmm.
early 90s. I worked in a different vein. I worked, as I mentioned before, I made collages and I painted hard edged from those collages. In fact, I
Uh-huh.
have a painting in the YIVO Institute of something I was inspired the same way. And um, and also I did something else, which I learned from a woman in the art group, uh, from one of the members, and that is how to create a pentagonal shape painting using regular stretchers. So I have a whole slew of which some of which we couldn't see here, but it's in my vintage section on my website, vintage art of shape paintings, and so you're literally using your stretchers and you're gluing and you're supporting with
Uh-huh.
little pieces of wood
Uh-huh.
to get a and you
And it
make
creates a pentagram shape.
yes, and that pentagon it takes you away from the rectangle. And I
Hmm.
have a bunch of paintings that are abstract in that kind of
Hmm.
format, uh, and that sort of inspired my artist books, which were in some cases pentagonal too. The pentabook set, and also have a miniature version, a similar of a pentabook. Um, yeah.
Do we have any other questions or comments for Helen?
Let me see if I have a closing note here that I want to, if we don't. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, um, in the works that are not part of the Archimage series, Doug, an architectural homage
Hmm.
is what it
Hmm.
really means,
Right.
is stuff in I called Mindscape, Zenscape, Jazz Train. And speaking of Jazz Train, the improvisational work, paintings, regular rectangular, and some in oil, which I had in France. How did
Hmm.
I get a show in France? I'll tell you. You're interested? I'll share.
Sure.
Good. Um, I was interested in going to France, and I met a person on a hike in New York,
Hmm.
and I said, "Gee, I'd love to go to France, but the whole thing about money and going there." She said, "Well, I know a teacher who wants to exchange homes, apartments."
Ah, yeah.
And so I said, "Okay, give her my contact. I'm happy with." And she contacted me and invited me. So me and at that time, my friend, the late Ed Davin, we went to Nice where she had a place,
Hmm.
and it was wonderful to go not only in nature, take walks, but also to go to the Nice, and the general French Riviera is rich with museums.
Right.
You have your Miro, you have your even Picasso, you have your
Right.
Met Foundation, you have a lot of wonderful museums, and Monet too, and Chagall.
Cezanne.
Oh yeah, wonderful. So that was, and then she came to my home a couple of times with one of her women teacher friends too, when I lived in the South Shore, and then she said to me one day, I know someone who works in a bank where I live, and they have a gallery called Espace Culturel, cultural space. She says, would you like a show there? I said, yes. So I arranged to, I brought all my paintings in a roll. I bought a roll that would conform to travel requirements in terms of its diameter, a black bag basically with a zipper. And I took all the 9 paintings off their stretchers, and I packed it and brought it along. And I called it I gave it a funny name. I didn't say paintings. I called it, wall coverings. As a description. You have to give us description. So so I brought that along, and I had there's no way you can go buy stretchers. You go and you have them done, made by a carpenter basically. So I did that, and I hung them, and it didn't result in sales, but I was allowed to stay in Nice free while that went on for a couple of months, and I got to see the beaches there and the museums that I referred to before.
That's even better than a sale.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So that was my exhibiting in French in the Espace Culturel of a bank, a very lovely bank in a nice part of Nice, downtown area.
I'm going to put up a very brief pitch for an upcoming dialogue that I'm doing the interviewing in. It's for Tina Dickey, the author of this book on Hans Hofmann, brand new book from Yale University Press. That dialogue will be all about Hans Hofmann and his students, and that's on April 6th, Monday, April 6th. So if you're as interested as I think you might be, those of you in the audience, about Hans Hofmann, please tune in. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
And let me be a gent here and say thank you, Helen, so much.
Okay. It was a delight.
Yeah, for me too.
Very thank you so much to you for this wonderful opportunity, and
happy to provide it.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody for all attending, and thank you for the women who were so kind. Alex and Maruna.
And Alex, it's your turn.
Amazing. Thank you, Helen and Doug. Join us next Monday, March 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern for an engaging dialogue between Sam Locke and Michael Klein. And thank you again, Helen and Doug. And also thank you to all of our board members and volunteers. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, and thank you all.
Night.
Great.
Night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.